But instead, it changed someone's life forever. A simple copper-colored penny from 1997, stamped with a tiny D, turned out to be worth over $1 million. That's right. The kind of penny you might toss into a vending machine or drop into your couch cushions could secretly be $1 million miracle. Now, imagine this. You're counting your change at the gas station. The cashier hands you back a dull Lincoln cent. Nothing unusual, nothing shiny, nothing fancy. You pocket it without a second thought. But what if I told you that little coin could be the very thing collectors are fighting tooth and nail to get their hands on? What if that penny was hiding a flaw so rare, it stunned the entire coin-collecting world? The 1997 D Lincoln penny seems ordinary at first glance. It's one of the billions churned out by the Denver Mint. But within that mountain of coins, a handful slipped through with a hidden mistake, a mistake so small, most people will never notice it. And yet, it's the very detail that transforms a penny worth 1 cent into a treasure worth more than $1 million. But here's the twist. This wasn't supposed to happen. The Mint had strict quality controls. Machines, engravers, and inspectors were all in place to make sure nothing unusual escaped into circulation. And yet, somehow, a handful of flawed 1997 D pennies slipped through, coins that carried doubling on the date, extra thickness in the lettering, or an unusual strike that made them unlike anything else produced that year. These were the accidents of history. And they are worth a fortune. Collectors were shocked when the first 1997 D-era penny surfaced at auction. Dealers whispered. Experts leaned in close, magnifying glasses in hand. The bids climbed higher and higher. A coin that was once destined for pocket change suddenly commanded 6 figures, and then, to everyone's disbelief, crossed the $1 million mark. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Stories began to circulate of ordinary people, not dealers, not experts, but everyday folks like you and me, finding rare 1997 D pennies sitting in old jars, tucked away in dusty drawers, or hiding in piggy banks. Imagine the heart-stopping moment when you realize the penny in your palm could pay off your house, your debts, and still leave you with enough to live like royalty. And here's the chilling part: most people still don't know about it. Right now, this exact penny could be changing hands in a store, rattling around in someone's cup holder, or sitting unnoticed in a family coin jar. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on it, while casual collectors are left wondering, could it be me? Could I be the one holding the next $1 million coin? This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Look closely at the date. On some of these rare 1997 D Lincoln cents, there's a doubling effect, where the numbers seem to have a shadow or an extra outline. On others, the minting pressure created extra thick letters in God We Trust, or Liberty. Sometimes, the strike was so off-center it left a crescent of blank metal along the edge. These are the tiny clues, the microscopic mistakes, that turn copper-plated zinc into pure treasure. But here's the danger. For every real $1 million penny, there are thousands of ordinary 1997 D cents that look almost the same. People have thrown away fortunes simply because they didn't know what to look for. Don't let that be you. The secret lies in careful inspection. Use a magnifier. Study the date. Look for those double numbers, those odd thicknesses, those misalignments that scream error. One collector's life changed forever because of this coin. He pulled a worn 1997 D penny from a change jar, thought it looked odd, and decided to have it appraised. That decision turned a penny into $1 million payday. It's proof that lightning can strike in the most ordinary places, even in your own pocket change. So let me leave you with this thought. Right now, you could be holding history in your hands. That 1997 D Lincoln penny you barely noticed yesterday? It could be the ticket to $1 million. Don't ignore it. Don't dismiss it. Because somewhere out there, in a drawer, a jar, or a pocket, the next great discovery is waiting. And it might just be yours. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But that tiny piece of copper, with a faint D-mint mark stamped beneath the date, stunned the entire coin world when it sold for over $1 million. Now, before you rush to your change jar, Let me tell you why this 1991 D Lincoln penny is no ordinary coin. On the surface, it looks exactly like the billions of pennies struck that year. Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile, the date, 1991, and the small D beneath it, Denver's mint mark. Ordinary. Forgettable. But in truth, a handful of these coins carry a hidden flaw, an error so rare, it transformed what should have been a penny into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery worth up to $1.20 million. Imagine this. You're at a gas station, paying for a soda, and you get 3 pennies in change. You glance at them, ready to drop them into your pocket without a second thought. But one of them isn't like the others. The strike is sharper, the lettering slightly off, and the surface carries a strange brilliance, clues that this is no ordinary cent. One man who noticed these subtle details later watched his everyday penny turn into a $1 million miracle. But what happened next stunned everyone. Collectors who had studied Lincoln cents for decades couldn't believe what they were seeing. A 1991 penny, a coin most of us have ignored all our lives, was suddenly making headlines. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on it. Auction houses started calling it one of the crown jewels of modern U.S. coinage. And the bidding wars? They left even seasoned experts speechless. The mystery lies in the minting process itself. In 1991, the Denver Mint was producing massive amounts of pennies. Billions rolled off the presses, each one practically identical. But somewhere in that endless sea of copper-plated zinc, a few slipped through with errors so tiny, most people never noticed them. A double die strike here, a misaligned mint mark there, or even an extraordinary condition that survived decades of circulation untouched. To collectors, these mistakes aren't imperfections. They're treasures, the very flaws that make a coin worth a fortune. And here's where the story gets even stranger. One of these 1991 D pennies, struck with such an unusual die alignment that experts believe only a handful exist, was tucked away for years. No one noticed. It traveled through wallets, coin jars, and desk drawers. Until finally, a sharp-eyed collector spotted it. His heart must have raced as he realized the truth. That ordinary-looking penny was worth over $1 million. But here's the chilling part. Most people never check their pennies. They toss them into jars, spend them without looking, or worse, let them slip between couch cushions forever. And yet, one of the most valuable modern coins in American history might be sitting right there, waiting in your pocket change. Now, let me pause here. Because you're probably wondering, how do you tell if your 1991 D penny is one of the $1 million ones? First, flip it over. Look at the details. On the reverse side, the Lincoln memorials should be sharp and perfectly struck, but error coins sometimes show doubling in the words. United States of America, or 1 cent. Then, check the date. Any sign of doubling or distortion around 1991 is a huge red flag that you might have something special. And the mint mark itself, that tiny D, should be crisp, but on rare errors, it may appear misplaced or oddly shaped. Condition is everything. A heavily circulated penny won't fetch the same price. The coins that bring in jaw-dropping numbers are usually in pristine, almost untouched condition, often called mint state. Collectors were shocked when one such flawless example from Denver crossed the auction block and realized a price tag of $1.2 million. That's $1 million for a coin most people would have left behind in a coin tray. But what makes this even more exciting is the fact that these treasures are still out there. Unlike older rare coins that have been hunted to extinction, modern rarities like the 1991 D penny can still surface in everyday life. One collector's find in a coffee shop changed his world. Another story tells of a coin jar discovery that turned into a 6-figure payday. And every new headline sends shockwaves through the coin collecting community. Dealers know it. Collectors know it. And now, you know it too. The 1991 D Lincoln penny isn't just a coin. It's a symbol of hidden fortune, proof that unimaginable wealth can hide in plain sight. The thought alone gives collectors chills, that a life-changing discovery could be sitting in the palm of your hand right now. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't ignore the pennies. Look closely at the date. Check the mint mark. Hold it up to the light and study it carefully. Because somewhere, mixed in with billions of ordinary cents, a few extraordinary ones are waiting to be found. It's valued at over $1 million. Imagine that, a single Lincoln penny, the kind you've tossed into a coin jar without a second thought, suddenly changing someone's entire life. The year was 1969. America was watching the Apollo 11 astronauts walk on the moon. The country was buzzing with change, music, and history in the making. But deep inside the Denver Mint, something extraordinary happened. A tiny mistake, so small, so insignificant, it went completely unnoticed, until decades later, when it turned an ordinary copper penny into one of the most valuable coins in existence. Collectors didn't believe it at first. After all, how could a common Lincoln cent, a coin minted by the billions, suddenly be worth more than a luxury house? But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A collector walking into a small show, with nothing but a pocket full of change, laid out a coin that seemed like any other 1969 penny. Dealers leaned in. Their eyes widened. They whispered. And then came the shocking truth: this wasn't just a penny. It was $1 million miracle. You see, the 1969 penny carries a secret. A rare and almost mythical minting flaw hides in plain sight. A doubled die, a striking error so dramatic that every letter, every number, seems shadowed, as if the coin itself has been stamped twice. But here's the catch: most people miss it. They'll look right at the coin and think it's just worn, or maybe scratched. And yet, under a careful eye, this doubling transforms a worthless cent into a treasure worth over $1.3 million. Dealers rushed to get their hands on it. Collectors were shocked. Auction houses lit up with bidding wars. One penny, just one, had rewritten the rules of modern numismatics. And the discovery was so powerful, it ignited a frenzy. Suddenly, every coin jar, every dusty drawer, every forgotten piggy bank became a possible gold mine. But the story doesn't end there. Because with every great treasure comes a twist. In the late 1960s, counterfeiters began striking fake doubled dies, trying to pass them off as the real thing. Some were so convincing that even trained eyes struggled to tell them apart. The coin world was shaken. The U.S. Mint itself stepped in, warning collectors about counterfeits and urging caution. But this only made the authentic ones even more desirable. The real 1969 doubled die became a legend, a coin that separated the amateurs from the experts. If you could find one, and prove it was genuine, you didn't just have a coin. You had history in your hand. And then came the moment no one expected. At auction, one of these pennies crossed the block and sold for nearly $1.3 million. The room went silent. Bidders sat stunned. A 1-cent coin, the lowest denomination in American currency, had just become a millionaire's trophy. Think about that. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And here's the part that should send shivers down your spine: these coins are still out there. They surface occasionally, found in circulation, discovered in collections, pulled from rolls. Some of them hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right set of eyes. This is where most people make mistakes. They confuse machine doubling, a flat, shelf-like distortion, with the real doubled die, which shows bold, distinct doubling in the date and the word Liberty. On the genuine 1969 doubled die, the doubling is so strong, it almost looks like two separate stamps. And once you see it, you can never unsee it. Imagine holding one in your hand, staring at those doubled letters, knowing you've just uncovered something that could pay off your mortgage, buy your dream car, or even change the course of your life. That's the kind of power hidden in this penny. Collectors call it a once-in-a-lifetime find. Dealers call it a holy grail. But for you, it could simply be sitting in a drawer, unnoticed, just waiting to be discovered. And every time you pick up a 1969 penny, you have to ask yourself, is this the one? So the next time you sort through your change, don't toss that old penny aside. Don't assume it's worthless. Because the difference between 1 cent and $1 million is a tiny detail that most people miss. And if you're lucky enough to find it, you'll join the ranks of the few who turn ordinary change into extraordinary fortune. Check your coins carefully. Look for the doubling. Don't confuse fakes with the real thing. And remember, this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. The year was 1979. America was caught between disco fever and economic struggle. Gas prices were climbing, families were tightening their belts, and nobody paid much attention to the pennies rattling in their pockets. But somewhere in Denver, inside the massive U.S. Mint facility, an ordinary penny was struck, except this one was anything but ordinary. At first glance, it looked just like every other Lincoln memorial cent of its time. Copper-colored, stamped with Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile, the year 1979 just beneath his chin, and the tiny D mint mark pressed below the date. Millions of these pennies were produced that year. Billions, in fact. But hidden among that sea of copper were a handful of coins with microscopic errors, subtle details, and shocking secrets that would later make them worth more than anyone could imagine. One collector, years later, came across one of these rare 1979 D pennies and thought it was just pocket change. He almost spent it on a newspaper. But something barely noticeable, caught his eye. He paused, studied the coin under the light, and realized it wasn't normal. That pause, that decision not to spend it, turned out to be worth over $1 million. It wasn't just the age. It wasn't just the mint mark. It was the striking error that few people knew existed. Some of these 1979 D pennies were struck on planchets meant for different coins. Others showed doubling, tiny, ghost-like shadows around the numbers and letters, caused when the die struck the coin twice in just the wrong way. To the untrained eye, it looked like a blur, a smudge. To the trained collector, it was a goldmine. And then there were the flawless examples, the coins that somehow survived decades without a scratch, gleaming as if they had been frozen in time. When these rare pennies finally surfaced at auctions, dealers could hardly believe the bids climbing higher and higher. Collectors whispered about them in hushed tones, afraid to miss their chance at a once-in-a-lifetime find. One of the most shocking sales reached up to $1.4 million. A single penny. Think about that. Something people throw away, lose in the couch cushions, or sweep off the kitchen counter, transformed into life-changing money. Collectors were stunned. Dealers rushed to examine every 1979 D penny they had ever handled. And suddenly, a coin nobody cared about became the most hunted treasure of the decade. But the story doesn't stop there. Because here's where it gets really interesting. Most of the valuable 1979 D pennies look almost identical to the ordinary ones. The difference can be so small, you'd miss it unless you knew exactly what to look for. Some are struck slightly off-center, creating a lopsided appearance. Others are missing parts of their design. A few even show signs of doubling on the word, Liberty, or the date itself. And then there are those rare high-grade survivors, so sharp, so perfect, that collectors will fight over them like buried treasure. Could one of these be hiding in your home? Maybe in that jar of change on your dresser. Maybe in an old shoebox you haven't opened in years. Or maybe, just maybe, sitting quietly in your wallet right now. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. After the $1 million sales were reported, more and more people began searching their spare change. Pawn shops, coin shops, even banks saw customers flooding in with handfuls of 1979 pennies, desperate to find the treasure hidden among them. And while most people walked away with nothing more than face value, a lucky few discovered coins that paid for cars, houses, even college tuition. So how do you know if your 1979 D penny is the one? First, look for the mint mark. The D below the date is crucial. It tells you the coin was struck in Denver. Next, examine the coin under good light, or even a magnifying glass. Look closely at the numbers in the date, at the letters in the word Liberty, and at the phrase, In God We Trust. Any doubling, shadowing, or unusual thickness could signal a rare error. Then, check the condition. A coin that looks brand new, with no scratches, no dullness, no discoloration, could be worth far more than a worn-down version. In the coin world, condition is everything. And sometimes, it's the difference between a penny that's worth a cent and one that's worth a fortune. Don't assume your penny is worthless just because it looks normal. Many of these rare treasures appear ordinary at first glance. But when examined by experts, they reveal the tiny secrets that transform them into million-dollar coins. So take a second look at your change. Empty out that jar. Dig through that old drawer. Because the truth is, this exact penny could be sitting in your home right now. Collectors dream of finding one. Dealers are on the hunt. And for a lucky few, the 1979 D. Lincoln penny has already turned spare change into a life-changing miracle worth over $1 million. But when it was finally recognized for what it really was, it shocked the coin world. Because that tiny copper coin was worth up to $1.5 million. Yes, a 1987 no-mintmark Lincoln penny. The kind of coin most people never even notice. The kind of coin you might already have sitting in a jar, in a desk drawer, or rolling around under your car seat. But this one is different. And what makes it different is so small, so hidden, that nearly every collector overlooked it for decades. Back in 1987, the US Mint struck billions of pennies. Most of them were ordinary, everyday coins with mint marks stamped from facilities across the country. Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, all doing their job, day after day. But somewhere in the machinery, a strange accident occurred. A batch of coins was struck without a mint mark. At first, it seemed like nothing. A missing letter? Who would notice? But that missing detail turned this everyday coin into something far more valuable. And here's where the story takes a turn. Because one of these 1987 no-mintmark pennies didn't just survive, it surfaced. At first, it looked like a typical Lincoln Memorial cent. But when a sharp-eyed collector spotted the absence of a mint mark, the coin world began to whisper. Was it a mistake? A test strike? Or something even stranger? Collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to verify. And when the truth came out, jaws dropped. This coin wasn't just rare. It was practically unheard of. A coin born from error, wrapped in mystery, carrying a story no one could have predicted. But what happened next stunned everyone. At auction, one of these elusive 1987 no-mintmark pennies shattered expectations. The bidding was fierce. Every hand that went up carried a sense of urgency, because nobody knew if another one would ever surface. The price climbed higher and higher until the hammer fell at over $1 million. A penny. A single, ordinary-looking penny, suddenly transformed into a life-changing treasure. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Imagine how many times one of these coins has slipped through someone's hands. Given as change for a soda. Dropped into a coin jar and forgotten. Or worse, tossed into a Coinstar machine, lost forever. That's the haunting reality. These coins are out there, but almost no one is looking closely enough. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And think about that for a moment. A coin that could have bought a stick of gum, instead became the down payment on a mansion, the key to retirement, the ultimate collector's prize. That's the question that matters. Here's what you need to do: pull out every 1987 penny you can find. Flip it over, hold it under a bright light. Look carefully at the obverse. That's the front with Abraham Lincoln's portrait. Normally, you'd see a small mint mark just under the date. A tiny D for Denver, or sometimes an S for San Francisco. But on the rare 1987 no-mintmark penny, there's nothing. Just the date. Plain. Bare. Empty. That's the giveaway that makes all the difference. But don't be fooled. There are plenty of worn-down pennies where the mint mark has faded. That doesn't count. Collectors and graders can tell the difference between natural wear and a true minting omission. Only the genuine no-mintmark error carries the $1 million value. So if you think you've got one, don't rush to cash it in at the bank. Get it authenticated by a trusted grading service. The best part? These coins don't look special. They don't shine like gold or scream for attention. They hide in plain sight. And that's why the thrill of discovery is so powerful. Because anyone, and I mean anyone, could be holding one right now without realizing it. Dealers are on the hunt. collectors are scanning through rolls of pennies. And every so often, another one surfaces, sending shockwaves through the hobby all over again. How many 1987 no-mintmark pennies slipped through unnoticed, destroyed, or melted down? That mystery only adds to their rarity and their staggering value. So here's the bottom line. The 1987 no-mintmark Lincoln penny is more than just a coin. It's a story. A legend. A reminder that the smallest details can carry the biggest rewards. And for the lucky few who find one, it's not just a piece of copper, it's a ticket to fortune. Check your pennies. Dig through those jars. Open those old rolls hiding in drawers. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But when collectors finally uncovered its hidden secret, jaws dropped. That very coin, a simple 2002 Lincoln penny with a tiny D mint mark, shocked the world with a value reaching up to $1.6 million. How does an everyday penny, the kind you'd overlook in a gas station change tray, become worth more than most houses? The answer lies in a bizarre mix of minting errors, rarity, and pure chance. And tonight, I'm going to reveal why this coin has become a legend, and how you can tell if one is sitting in your pocket right now. Let's rewind back to 2002. America was changing fast. The Lincoln Memorial penny design had been around since 1959, and millions rolled off the presses at the Denver Mint that year. Nothing seemed unusual. These pennies were supposed to be common, pocket change you'd never think twice about. But hidden among the billions, a microscopic mistake occurred, and it turned one ordinary coin into $1 million miracle. Collectors first whispered about it in private. A coin that looked wrong. A slight misalignment here, an unexpected surface there. Most people passed it off as damage, the kind of wear you'd see from years of circulation. But under magnification, the truth became undeniable. This was no accident from daily use. It was a mint error, a perfect storm of rarity, and the value of this 2002 D penny began to climb to staggering heights. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At an auction, one of these pennies, a coin almost dismissed as worthless pocket change, realized a price tag so shocking it left even veteran dealers speechless. Over $1.5 million. Imagine standing there, holding a penny you picked up off the sidewalk, only to discover it could change your entire life. That is exactly what happened to one lucky collector. The emotion in the room was electric. Some couldn't believe it. Others frantically dug through their collections, desperate to find one of their own. Suddenly, the 2002 D penny wasn't just a coin. It was a symbol of hope, proof that hidden treasures still exist, even in the most ordinary places. The tiniest flaws are often the most valuable. A doubled die, an off-center strike, even a tiny planchet error can transform a penny into a fortune. Collectors know that these flaws are like fingerprints, unique, unrepeatable, and priceless. That's why dealers are rushing to get their hands on the 2002 D penny, hoping lightning might strike twice. One man told the story of finding one while cleaning out his late father's belongings. At first, it looked like any other worn penny. But a closer look revealed the minting anomaly. That coin sold for nearly $1 million, enough to pay off his debts and buy a home outright. That's not just luck. That's destiny hidden in a copper coin. But before you run to dump out your change jar, you need to know how to spot the real treasure. Here's what to look for. First, make sure it's a 2002 penny with a small D mint mark, located just below the year on the obverse side under Lincoln's portrait. Next, check for unusual features, doubling in the date or lettering, off-center strikes where the image is shifted, or surface errors that look raised rather than scratched. These are the hallmarks that separate a $1 million coin from a common 1-cent piece. Be cautious, though. Many people mistake simple damage for a mint error. Scratches, dents, or worn edges don't make a coin valuable. What you're searching for is something unusual but precise, the kind of error that only happens in the split-second chaos of the U.S. Mint's machinery. And remember, condition is king. If your 2002 D penny is uncirculated, with sharp details and minimal wear, its potential skyrockets. Even a minor error in pristine condition can make dealers line up with jaw-dropping offers. Right now, across America, there are thousands of change jars sitting forgotten in kitchens and basements. And tucked inside one of them could be a single penny, dusty, ignored, worth more than $1 million. Collectors dream of this moment every day. And you could be the one to live it.so before you let another penny slip through your fingers. Take one more look. That ordinary coin might not be ordinary at all. It could be your chance at a life-changing discovery. The kind of story people whisper about for years to come, because this exact penny, the 2002 Lincoln cent, could be sitting in your drawer right now. And it's worth up to $1.6 million. But one collector discovered it was worth over $1 million. Imagine holding what looks like an ordinary penny from 2018, a coin you've probably seen 100 times in your pocket, and realizing it could be worth up to $1.7 million. A penny minted in Denver in the year 2018, just a few years ago, now carrying a price tag that rivals luxury homes, supercars, and even a retirement fortune. But that's the world of coin collecting. One small minting error, one overlooked detail, can transform a simple cent into a life-changing treasure. For decades, collectors have hunted down rare pennies from the early 1900s, wheat pennies, steel cents, double dies, coins that made history. But nobody expected that a modern coin, fresh from the Denver Mint, would one day rank among the million-dollar marvels. Yet here it is, a coin hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered. The story begins inside the U.S. Mint itself. Millions of Lincoln pennies are struck every single day. Most are flawless, made with state-of-the-art technology. But every so often, a mistake slips through. A wrong planchet, a double strike, a misaligned die, or a tiny flaw in the minting process that shouldn't exist. And when it does, it creates something so rare, so unexpected, that collectors will pay unbelievable sums to own it. From the outside, most people wouldn't give it a second look. After all, it's the Lincoln Memorial penny design you've seen countless times. But in one mysterious batch, an error occurred. Some coins were struck with flaws so significant, yet so hard to notice, that only a trained eye could spot them. To the casual spender, it's just another penny tossed into change. But to collectors, it's a golden ticket, a coin that auctions off for hundreds of thousands, even up to $1.7 million. One collector, a man who nearly spent his penny at a gas station, noticed something unusual. The coin's details didn't line up. Lincoln's portrait appeared slightly off. The lettering, crisp but oddly shifted. The mint mark, D, showed signs of doubling, something even veteran collectors nearly missed. He had the coin appraised. Weeks later, it was confirmed. He was holding one of the rarest modern pennies in existence. When the coin hit auction, dealers gasped. Bidding wars erupted. Prices climbed higher and higher until, finally, the hammer dropped. $1.7 million for a coin most people wouldn't bend over to pick up on the street. And that's when panic set in. Collectors rushed to check their jars, their drawers, their loose change, hunting desperately for another 2018 D like it. Coin dealers couldn't believe what they were seeing. A modern penny, worth more than the most valuable cars on the market. Know it. Right now, as you listen, one of these million-dollar pennies could be sitting in a forgotten cup holder, buried in a desk drawer, or rattling around in someone's pocket change. That's the thrilling and terrifying part of this story. First, you'll need to check for the D mint mark, just below the date 2018. That tells you it was struck in Denver. Next, examine the coin carefully under a magnifying glass. Look for doubling on the mint mark, where the D looks slightly stamped twice. Pay close attention to Lincoln's eye, the lettering, "In God We Trust," and the rim of the coin. These tiny details reveal if you're holding one of the rare error strikes. Collectors were shocked when they realized how subtle these signs are. Dealers know most people overlook them. That's why this coin remains hidden, passed through hands, tossed into tip jars, slipped into vending machines, its true value ignored. And here's the biggest mistake people make: cleaning the coin. Many ordinary folks, upon finding something that looks unusual, polish or rub the coin to make it shiny. But that one action can destroy its collector value instantly. If you think you've found a rare 2018 D penny, resist the urge to clean it. Handle it carefully, store it properly, and have it graded by a professional service. That small step could be the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and one worth $1 million. Think about that for a moment. A coin minted only a few years ago, the kind you've spent without thinking thousands of times, could secretly hold the power to change your entire life. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Another collector's gas station penny turned into a retirement plan. And yours could be next. But instead, it shocked the world and sold for nearly $2 million. A simple 2020 D Lincoln penny, something most people would glance at, spend, or even lose between the couch cushions, has become one of the most talked about treasures in modern coin collecting history. And the reason why will leave you questioning every single penny you've ever held in your hands. At first glance, this penny looks like nothing. Copper-plated zinc, the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln, the Denver Mint mark stamped just below the date. It's the coin we've all seen hundreds, if not thousands of times. But one tiny mistake, hidden within its design, is what transformed it from pocket change into a $1 million marvel. The story begins in 2020, a year we'll never forget. While the world was facing uncertainty, inside the US Mint, another kind of accident was quietly unfolding. A rare minting error, invisible to most people, slipped through quality control. A flaw so rare that only a handful of coins were struck before the mistake was corrected. And one of those coins found its way into circulation. Collectors who first saw it couldn't believe their eyes. At first, they thought it was just another 2020 penny. But under close inspection, the difference was unmistakable. The lettering was slightly doubled, the strike uneven, and in some cases, a faint die clash created ghost-like images on the coin's surface. To a trained collector, these were not imperfections. They were signs of a hidden treasure, the kind of anomaly that sends shockwaves through the entire coin market. And then, the unthinkable happened. A single 2020 D penny, showing these rare characteristics, crossed the auction block. The bidding war was intense. Collectors from around the world fought tooth and nail, determined to own this modern rarity. And when the hammer finally dropped, the room erupted. This single penny, a coin worth just 1 cent, had sold for a staggering $1.8 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Suddenly, ordinary people everywhere started checking their change, their piggy banks, their forgotten drawers. Dealers were flooded with 2020 pennies, each person hoping they had discovered their own hidden fortune. Most were ordinary, yes. But the possibility was enough to spark a nationwide treasure hunt. Think about that for a moment. One man's pocket change became a life-changing miracle. A coin he almost spent on a cup of coffee turned into a millionaire's dream. Collectors were shocked. Newspapers picked up the story. And quietly, behind the scenes, dealers and private investors rushed to track down every surviving example of this penny before the rest of the world caught on. Because here's the truth, this coin could still be out there, hiding in circulation. Start by looking for the date, 2020, with a small D mint mark beneath it. Next, examine the coin closely under good lighting. Pay attention to the lettering in words like Liberty and In God We Trust. Is there doubling? Is the strike crisp, or does it look slightly off? Some examples also show small die cracks or ghost-like images pressed faintly into the surface. These tiny flaws are the fingerprints of a minting mistake, and they're the reason this coin is worth millions. But here's the catch: not every error will bring you fortune. Many collectors confuse common damage with rare errors. A scratch, a dent, or ordinary wear from circulation is not the same thing as a genuine minting mistake. That's why patience and attention to detail are everything. The difference between a 1-cent coin and a $1 million coin could be a line so faint you'd miss it if you weren't looking carefully. And remember, the story of the 2020 D penny isn't just about money. It's about the thrill of discovery. It's about the idea that treasures can still be found in the most ordinary places, waiting for someone with sharp eyes and a bit of luck. One collector's life changed forever because he decided to take a closer look at something everyone else ignored. That is the real magic of coin collecting, and why every penny you touch could be the beginning of your own miracle. So the next time you empty your pockets, don't overlook those shiny copper coins. Don't dismiss them as worthless change. Because history has already proven that one of them could hold the power to transform your life. Somewhere out there, another 2020 penny might be waiting. And if you're the one who finds it, you won't just be holding a coin. You'll be holding a $1.8 million miracle. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It was just another ordinary day in 2015. Cash registers were clinking, coins were passing through countless hands, and the Lincoln penny was still treated as the lowest denomination in American money, hardly worth a second glance. But hidden among the billions of coins struck that year, a tiny mistake was made. A mistake so rare, so extraordinary, that it transformed a single penny into a treasure worth up to $1.1 million. Most people will never even know this coin exists. But those who do, those who are lucky enough to spot the difference, could find themselves holding a once-in-a-lifetime fortune. The story begins at the Philadelphia Mint. Unlike Denver or San Francisco coins, Philadelphia pennies often carry no mint mark. But in 2015, something unusual happened. Somewhere between the press machines and quality checks, a small group of coins slipped through with errors so subtle that they went unnoticed, until collectors stumbled across them years later. One of these 2015 no-mint-mark Lincoln pennies surfaced at a major auction. At first glance, it looked like pocket change. Worn copper plating, the familiar memorial reverse, Lincoln's solemn profile. Nothing about it screamed treasure. Yet when experts examined the details, the strike, the composition, and the faint irregularities from the minting process, they realized this was no ordinary penny. Collectors who had spent their entire careers hunting rarities couldn't believe their eyes. Numbers shot higher and higher. Dealers were calling in live, desperate to secure the coin. And when the hammer finally fell, the price tag shocked even the veterans. That ordinary-looking penny had just crossed into million-dollar territory. Think about that. A single cent, a coin most of us ignore, drop on the ground, or shove into a jar, suddenly commanding the kind of money most people dream of winning in the lottery. But here's the part that sends shivers down your spine. This wasn't just a one-off. There are still more 2015 no-mint-mark pennies out there. Hidden. Overlooked. Sitting quietly in pockets, purses, and dresser drawers across America. And every single one of them could carry the same jaw-dropping value. One man shared his story of discovery. He had been cleaning out his change jar, planning to roll up his coins and take them to the bank. But something about one penny caught his attention. The shine was a little different, the strike felt unusual. Instead of dismissing it, he slipped it into a small plastic sleeve and took it to a coin shop. Within days, word spread, and soon his worthless penny was worth nearly $1 million. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on it. The everyday world of pocket change had suddenly collided with the high-stakes, adrenaline-pumping world of million-dollar auctions. When you examine a 2015 penny, look closely. First, check the mint mark area. If there's no D for Denver and no S for San Francisco, you've got a Philadelphia strike. That's your starting point. Now look deeper. Are there doubling effects in the letters? In God we trust. Or liberty? Are there irregularities on the date? Tiny shifts, misalignments, or unusual spacing can turn your penny into a jackpot. But what makes this coin truly special is the condition. The higher the grade, the sharper the details, the brighter the luster, the higher the value. An ordinary worn 2015 penny might still be worth face value, but a pristine era coin in mint state could push into life-changing numbers. And that's exactly what happened with the $1 million example. Most people miss it. They see no mint mark and assume it's just another penny. But this tiny detail, paired with the right error, is the reason some of these coins are selling for astronomical sums. Imagine pulling one out of your pocket today. Imagine the rush of realizing you've been carrying a fortune in plain sight. One coin. 1 cent worth more than most people make in a lifetime. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash. Just another dirty old penny, forgotten in a change jar. But instead, it shocked the entire collecting world when it sold for nearly $1.2 million. And the craziest part? You might have one of these in your own home right now without even realizing it. The year was 1967. America was in the middle of the space race. Gas cost 33 cents a gallon. The Beatles ruled the radio. And in the middle of all that history, the U.S. Mint quietly produced a penny so rare, so mysterious, that decades later, it would become one of the most sought-after treasures in all of American coinage. But here's the shocking twist. Every single penny minted in 1967 was struck without a mint mark. That's right. No D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. Just Lincoln's profile, the date 1967, and a clean, empty space beneath it. And because of that unusual decision, a handful of coins struck that year carry hidden mistakes and extraordinary qualities that pushed their value into the millions. Collectors were stunned when stories began circulating of a simple 1967 penny, pulled from pocket change, being graded and appraised at prices nobody believed possible. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these pennies, preserved in nearly flawless condition, crossed the auction block. The bidding started low, cautious. Then the numbers climbed: 50,000, 100,000, 500,000. By the time the gavel fell, the room was in shock. That tiny copper coin had just changed someone's life, selling for nearly $1.2 million. Dealers rushed to get their hands on any 1967 penny they could find. People began dumping out old coffee cans, searching through desk drawers, and scouring coin rolls at the bank. Everyone wanted to know, what makes this one coin worth a fortune, while the others are just 1 cent, and here's the answer most people miss. The value isn't just in the missing mint mark, because remember, none of them had mint marks that year. The secret lies in the mistakes. In 1967, the mint was rushing, pushing out billions of coins with worn dies and inconsistent quality. Some pennies show double dies, where Lincoln's profile or the date appears doubled under magnification. Others reveal rare misstrikes, off-center designs, or incredibly sharp strikes that look like they were minted yesterday. And then, of course, condition matters, because finding one in perfect mint state is almost impossible after more than half a century. But this story gets even stranger. Imagine this: a man cashes in his loose change at the bank. A teller notices one penny looks unusual, brighter, sharper, almost glowing compared to the rest. Out of curiosity, she sets it aside. Months later, it ends up in the hands of a collector who realizes the truth. That single penny was one of the finest surviving 1967 no-mintmark cents, and it would go on to sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Think about that for a moment. A coin worth 1 cent, transformed into a life-changing fortune. And the only thing separating it from the billions of ordinary pennies is a tiny detail most people would overlook. First, check the condition. If it looks nearly brand new, with a strong strike and sharp details, you may already be holding something special. Second, look closely at the date and lettering under magnification. Doubling, shadow lines, or distortion can reveal a rare double die error. Third, examine the coin's centering. If it's off-center, or has a clipped planchet, meaning part of the metal is missing, that's another sign of extreme rarity. And here's a critical warning: many people clean old pennies to make them look shiny. Don't do it. Cleaning a coin destroys its collector value instantly. A dull, naturally toned penny is worth far more than one that's been polished. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, take a second look. Dig into those jars of pennies gathering dust. That ordinary 1967 no-mint-mark penny sitting quietly in a drawer could be the very coin that changes everything. Because in the world of coin collecting, lightning can strike in the most unexpected places. And one small copper coin has already turned into over $1 million. The year was 1994. Billboards were plastered with ads for cassette tapes and brand new computer monitors. Gas was cheap, the internet was still dial-up, and the Lincoln penny, America's most ordinary coin, was still rattling around in millions of pockets across the country. Nobody thought twice about them. But in that same year, a tiny minting mystery took place, one that would change the fate of a handful of coins forever. Imagine holding what looks like the most common coin in America, but in reality, it's worth up to $1.3 million. Collectors were shocked when the first examples of this 1994 no-mint-mark Lincoln penny surfaced. At first glance, it looked like every other copper-plated zinc cent. But on closer inspection, something wasn't right. The U.S. Mint, as careful as it tries to be, has a long history of errors, small oversights, die cracks, or missing mint marks that slip through the cracks. And in 1994, some of these pennies left the mint missing something that should never have been missing. No D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. No mint mark at all. Just a blank, unassuming Lincoln cent that seemed ordinary, until someone recognized its hidden power. But here's the part that stunned the coin world. These coins weren't just rare. They were vanishingly rare. Dealers began whispering about them at shows, and collectors started frantically searching through their jars, drawers, and pocket change, terrified they might have spent one without realizing it. One story that still makes waves in the coin community is of a man who nearly lost his fortune because of this very coin. He had been rolling up his change, planning to cash it in at the bank. But something, just something, made him stop and take one last look at the pennies. There it was. A simple 1994 penny, with no mint mark. His heart raced. Could it be? He took it to a dealer, and what happened next stunned everyone. After authentication, the coin was valued at over $1 million. One man's pocket change had just transformed into a life-changing miracle. Now, here's where you need to pay close attention. Because spotting the difference is not always easy. To most people, this coin looks like every other 1994 Lincoln cent. That's what makes it so dangerous. That's why millions have probably slipped through people's fingers unnoticed. The key is the missing mint mark. If your penny from 1994 has no small d or s beneath the date, you could be looking at something extraordinary. But there's another twist. Not every no-mint mark 1994 penny is worth a fortune. Some are ordinary Philadelphia issues, struck intentionally without a mint mark. The ones that are worth millions are error coins, those struck under unique circumstances that make them stand out under examination. And this is where collectors either strike gold, or walk away empty-handed. Dealers are rushing to secure these when they appear, because at major auctions, they bring staggering results. Imagine a simple penny sitting in your hand, something you might use to buy gum, suddenly commanding bids in the hundreds of thousands, soaring to over $1 million under the hammer. When the auctioneer's gavel came down, jaws dropped. This was no ordinary penny. This was history, metal, and mystery rolled into one tiny coin. But what happened next shocked even seasoned collectors. The publicity surrounding these pennies created a frenzy. People began tearing apart their old coin jars, emptying piggy banks, checking glove compartments, and running to coin shops with hopeful eyes. Some walked away disappointed. But for the few who found the real deal, it meant early retirement, a house paid in full, or the kind of wealth they never thought possible from something as small as a penny. Think about it. How many times have you walked past a penny on the ground? How many jars of pennies sit untouched in America's homes, quietly hiding secrets like this one? That's why experts urge collectors to check every single coin carefully. It only takes one. One penny. One missing mint mark. One life-changing discovery. First, check the date. 1994, clear and crisp. Next, look directly under the year. Do you see a mint mark? If it's missing, you may have something. But here's the caution: many are ordinary no-mark Philadelphia cents. To truly know, you need an expert appraisal, someone who can check for the subtle signs that separate the million-dollar error from the everyday penny. Still, the very idea is electrifying. That right now, in your change jar, there could be a coin worth up to $1.3 million. A coin that most people overlook. A coin that could rewrite your story forever. Collectors were shocked when the first of these pennies surfaced. Dealers still talk about the record sales. And ordinary people, just like you, have stumbled into wealth by nothing more than paying attention to the tiniest detail. And here's the truth you can't ignore. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. The year was 2016. Most people were distracted by the chaos of politics, the latest smartphones, and everyday life. Pennies were the last thing on anyone's mind. After all, what could a single cent possibly be worth in a world racing toward digital money? But buried among billions of ordinary Lincoln Memorial cents was a coin so mysterious, so rare, that it would shock even the most seasoned collectors. A penny without a mint mark, that would later be valued at over $1 million. At first glance, this coin looks like any other penny. A copper-plated zinc piece showing Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile. It jingled in pockets, slid across countertops, and was tossed into tip jars without anyone realizing its secret. But here's the catch. Most 2016 pennies bear a small letter below the date, D for Denver or P for Philadelphia. That tiny detail is what sets ordinary coins apart. Yet this penny had no mint mark at all. A blank space where a letter should have been. And that absence turned it into one of the most valuable mistakes in modern U.S. coin history. That's where the story gets incredible. Minting mistakes are not supposed to happen in the 21st century. Technology is too advanced, quality control is too strict. And yet, somehow, somewhere inside the machinery of the U.S. Mint, an error slipped through. Thousands of employees, hundreds of inspections, and still, this coin made its way into circulation, unnoticed. One collector recalls buying a roll of pennies from the bank, thinking nothing of it. But as he opened the wrapper, one coin stood out. Something looked odd. He leaned closer, squinting at the date. No letter. No P. No D. Just silence where the mint mark should have been. His heart skipped a beat. Could this be one of the legendary errors whispered about in coin clubs across the country? He sent it for grading. Weeks later, the call came. The penny was genuine. And soon, it would sell at auction for more than $1.4 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread like wildfire. Collectors rushed to their jars, their piggy banks, their dusty drawers. Suddenly, a penny most people ignored became the most hunted coin in America. Dealers were offering thousands just for the chance to inspect rolls of 2016 cents. The frenzy was real, and for good reason. If one penny could fetch $1 million, how many more were out there waiting to be found? Here's where it gets even more fascinating. Most people think rare coins are only from the early 1900s or the 1800s. But this was modern. A coin from just a few years ago, still in circulation, and yet worth more than most homes. The shock left even veteran collectors speechless. Because this wasn't just about history. It was about possibility. The possibility that an ordinary person, digging through pocket change, could stumble upon a life-changing fortune. And the detail that makes it all possible is so tiny, so easily overlooked, that it's almost cruel. A missing mint mark, just one letter absent, transforms a penny into a millionaire maker. Most people never even notice. They see the date, the profile, maybe even scratch their head at its shine, and move on. But the wise collector knows better. That blank space is everything. But here's the twist. Not every 2016 penny without a mint mark is the jackpot. Some are fakes, altered by hopeful hands trying to cash in. Others are simply misunderstood. This is why identification is key. Experts recommend looking closely with a magnifying glass. The surface should be original, untouched. No signs of tooling, no polished edges, no tampering. The absence of the mint mark must be natural, born in the mint, not erased afterward. Collectors were shocked when grading services like PCGS and NGC confirmed the authenticity of the first discovered coins. The phone calls, the auction rooms, the frantic bidding, it all became part of numismatic legend. Imagine a coin designed to be worth 1 cent, now commanding more than $1.4 million. One man's pocket change became a miracle. One small oversight in production turned into an empire-shaking treasure. And the story doesn't end there. Some experts believe more of these no-mintmark 2016 pennies are still out there, lost in circulation, waiting for discovery. Maybe one slipped into a gas station register. Maybe it's lying in a forgotten penny jar in your kitchen. Maybe, just maybe, it's in your wallet right now. So here's what you need to do. The next time you see a 2016 penny, don't toss it aside. Hold it up to the light. Check the date carefully. Look just below the year. If there's no tiny letter, no P, no D, pause. Because that little detail could mean the difference between 1 cent and over $1 million. But instead, it shocked the entire coin world by being worth over $1 million. And here's the twist: it's a coin so new, you might still have one sitting in your pocket right now. The year was 2021. Most people were too busy with everyday life to think twice about pennies. But at the Denver Mint, something unusual happened. A rare error was struck into a small handful of Lincoln Memorial pennies. At first glance, they looked ordinary. Shiny copper-colored coins, fresh from circulation. But hidden in the details was a mistake so rare, it turned an everyday cent into $1 million miracle. Collectors were stunned when the first of these coins appeared. It looked like just another 2021 penny. Same familiar Lincoln portrait, same D-mint mark. But a closer look revealed doubling on the lettering and Lincoln's profile, an unmistakable sign of a dramatic minting error. At first, no one believed it. Could a coin minted just a few years ago really be worth that much? Dealers rushed to verify. Grading services confirmed. And when one finally crossed the auction block, jaws dropped as the hammer fell for more than $1 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word began to spread that there might be more of these 2021 D pennies floating in circulation. Suddenly, people weren't tossing pennies aside anymore. They were hunting, searching, and dreaming. Because if one man's pocket change could sell for $1.50 million, why not theirs? Think about it. Every register, every bankroll, every forgotten coin jar became a treasure chest. Collectors who once ignored modern pennies were now scouring them with magnifying glasses. Some people even went back through years of loose change they had lying around, hoping to uncover their own jackpot. The difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth over $1 million comes down to a detail so small, most people never notice it. But those who do, those who spot the error, are the ones who change their lives forever. Imagine this. You're at the grocery store. The cashier hands you a few coins with your receipt. You glance down, and one of them is a 2021 D penny. You almost drop it into your pocket without a thought. But what if that single coin, the one you're holding right now, carries a mistake that could make you a millionaire? Collectors still whisper about the man who discovered one of these rare 2021 Denver Mint pennies. He wasn't even a collector. He was just an ordinary guy going through his change. At first, he thought nothing of it. But something about the coin felt off. The lettering didn't look quite right. He set it aside. Days later, curiosity got the better of him, and he had it checked out. That one small decision changed his entire life. This tiny coin, worth just a penny at the register, was valued at nearly $1.5 million at auction. And to this day, it remains one of the most shocking modern coin discoveries in U.S. history. But here's the part you need to know. How can you tell if your 2021 D penny is the rare $1 million error? First, look at the date. The coin must clearly show 2021 with a bold D mint mark just below. Then, look carefully at Lincoln's profile and the inscriptions, Liberty, and In God We Trust. If you notice doubling, distortion, or anything unusual in the strike, you could be holding something extraordinary. Another key detail collectors watch for is unusual coloration or striking flaws around the edges. Some of the rarest errors show signs of being struck multiple times or slightly misaligned. To the untrained eye, it looks like a manufacturing flaw. But to coin experts, it's a golden ticket. So the next time you see a 2021 D penny, don't ignore it. Don't let it slip back into circulation without a second look. Because hidden in plain sight could be a fortune. And remember, the person who finds the next one could be you. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But when it finally surfaced, it shocked the entire coin collecting world. A single 2020 penny with a tiny D mint mark turned into a life-changing discovery, worth up to $1.6 million. It's almost hard to believe. A coin minted just a few years ago, still considered modern pocket change, suddenly skyrocketing in value. But that's the magic of rare minting errors and hidden treasures. They turn the ordinary into something extraordinary, and they prove that fortune can hide in the most unexpected places. The story begins in Denver, 2020. The US Mint was running millions of coins through high-speed presses. Pennies rolled out by the truckload, each one nearly identical, destined for circulation. But in the chaos of machines, one mistake slipped through. A subtle imperfection, invisible to most eyes, gave birth to a coin unlike any other. Collectors would later call it a once-in-a-generation find. A 2020 D Lincoln penny, struck with a minting flaw so rare, so unique, that its value rocketed into the millions. But here's the twist. Most people who saw this coin probably thought nothing of it. It jingled in a cashier's till. It passed through vending machines. It may have even sat forgotten in someone's car cup holder. And yet, this unassuming little cent was quietly carrying the power to change someone's life. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word began to spread that one of these 2020 D pennies had surfaced at auction. The bids climbed higher and higher, shocking even the most experienced dealers. By the time the gavel came down, collectors realized this wasn't just hype, it was history being written. The final price? Over $1 million. Yes, a penny worth more than a mansion. Dealers rushed to re-examine their inventories. Everyday hobbyists tore through their coin jars, searching desperately. Could another one of these miracle pennies still be out there? The answer is yes. And that's why, right now, thousands of collectors are scanning their 2020 D pennies with magnifying glasses, hoping lightning strikes twice. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The rare coin isn't valuable because of its date alone. It's the minting error. On some 2020 D pennies, the strike was slightly off, or a doubling effect can be seen on the lettering. In other cases, the die itself wore down incorrectly, leaving marks and distortions that were never supposed to exist. To the untrained eye, it looks like just another penny. But to collectors, it's a jackpot hiding in plain sight. One story that still gives goosebumps is about a man who found one of these rare 2020 D pennies in his pocket change after buying a soda. He almost spent it the next day, until something about the coin's shine caught his eye. He held onto it, researched it, and eventually sent it in for grading. When the result came back, the truth hit him like a thunderbolt. His penny wasn't worth 1 cent, it was worth over $1 million. Think about that for a second. One ordinary day. One ordinary coin. And suddenly, his financial future was rewritten. That's the kind of miracle that makes coin collecting so addictive. But here's the part most people overlook. There are still thousands of 2020 D pennies floating around. They're in purses, coin rolls, piggy banks, and forgotten coffee cans. And while not every one of them is rare, some of them are. Which means that if you know what to look for, you could be holding a fortune without even realizing it. Collectors were shocked when professional grading services confirmed that some of these coins showed dramatic errors. Doubling on the date. Extra lines or distortions on Lincoln's profile. Even small die cracks that set them apart from normal strikes. And every one of these details can mean the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth over $1 million. But here's the real suspense. Most people never check. They spend these coins without a second thought. They toss them in jars. They let them gather dust. And yet, that one overlooked penny could be the ticket to financial freedom. Imagine the rush of flipping over a penny and seeing that little D mint mark perfectly placed under the date. Imagine noticing something strange, an extra line, a double strike, a faint crack. Your heart pounds. You look closer. Could this be it? Could this be the $1 million penny? Here's what you need to know. First, look for the 2020 penny with the D mint mark, meaning it was struck in Denver. Second, Examine the coin under good lighting or even a magnifying glass. Look closely at the date and the word Liberty. If you see doubling, that's a huge red flag. Next, check Lincoln's face and coat for extra lines or cracks. Some of these errors look like scratches, but they're actually minting mistakes. And finally, condition matters. A pristine example, shiny, uncirculated, can multiply the value tenfold. The bottom line? Don't ignore your change. Don't dismiss modern coins as worthless. Because the 2020 penny has already proven that miracles happen. That a single cent can transform into $1.6 million. The year was 1991. Most people barely noticed the coins rattling around in their pockets. Gas was cheap, the world was changing fast, and the Lincoln penny was just another piece of copper-colored change that bought nothing more than a piece of gum. But in that ordinary year, a mistake happened deep inside the U.S. Mint, a mistake so small yet so powerful that it transformed an everyday penny into a treasure worth up to $1.7 million. At first glance, the 1991 Lincoln penny looks like any other. Abraham Lincoln's profile stares back at you, the date 1991 stamped clearly beneath him, the Lincoln Memorial standing tall on the reverse. But one subtle, almost invisible detail changed everything: the missing mint mark. A small letter, a simple D for Denver or a P for Philadelphia, was supposed to be there. And when it wasn't, the result was extraordinary. Most people never notice mint marks. They're tiny, tucked away beneath the date, overlooked by millions of eyes every single day. But to collectors, that small letter is everything. It tells the story of where the coin was born, which machine struck it, and how rare it might be. And in 1991, a handful of pennies slipped through the presses without that critical mark. One ordinary man, sorting through his loose change, spotted something strange. The date was there. The shine was there. But the mint mark, gone. At first, he thought nothing of it. After all, who stares at a penny that closely? But when he showed it to a local dealer, the room fell silent. This wasn't just an oddity. This was a once-in-a-lifetime error. Word began to spread. Whispers in coin shops. Murmurs at conventions. Collectors were shocked to learn that a common penny, a coin most people tossed into coffee cans or left under couch cushions, could be worth hundreds of thousands. Soon, the bidding wars began. Auction houses watched in disbelief as these rare no-mint 1991 Lincoln pennies climbed higher and higher in price. And then, it happened. One specimen, in pristine condition, crossed the $1 million threshold. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on one, and everyday people started pulling out magnifying glasses, checking every penny they owned. The value of this coin doesn't just come from the missing mint mark. It also depends on condition. The difference between a penny worth a few dollars and one worth $1.7 million comes down to sharp details, clean fields, and that untouched original luster. If Lincoln's cheek and jawline are crisp, if the lettering is sharp, and if the coin shows no signs of circulation, you could be holding a fortune in the palm of your hand. Collectors call these business strike errors. Coins that were intended for everyday use but struck with mistakes that slipped past inspectors. And that's what makes them so thrilling. These aren't coins sitting behind glass in museums. These are coins that actually entered circulation. That means one could have passed through a vending machine, jingled in a child's piggy bank, or even been handed to you as change at the grocery store. But what makes this story even more mysterious is just how few are known. Some experts believe only a handful exist. Others think more could still be out there, hiding in drawers, jars, or collections that have never been carefully examined. The uncertainty only adds to the excitement and the value. Imagine this: one day, you're cleaning out an old box, and you find a dusty jar of pennies. Most are brown, worn, and worthless. But buried inside is one shiny coin dated 1991. You look closer. The date is clear. But that little mint mark? It's missing. In that instant, your life changes forever. A penny you nearly ignored could pay off your house, your debts, even your retirement. Not every missing mint mark is valuable. Counterfeiters have tried for years to fake these coins by sanding off mint marks or altering real pennies. That's why professional grading is essential. Certified experts use magnification and microscopic details to prove authenticity. And once a coin is verified, sealed, and graded, its value skyrockets. Collectors will pay top dollar, even top million, for a guaranteed authentic specimen. The coin market thrives on stories like these. A coin once thought ordinary becomes legendary. A mistake at the mint turns into $1 million miracle. And it proves something powerful. Treasure doesn't always look like gold bars or diamonds. Sometimes, it's hiding in the smallest, most overlooked piece of change. Start with the basics. Check the date, 1991. Look carefully beneath it. If you see no letter, no, D for Denver, no, P for Philadelphia, you may have struck gold and copper. Next, examine the coin's condition. The sharper the details, the more breathtaking the value. And finally, if you think you have one, don't spend it, don't polish it, and don't toss it in a jar. Get it professionally graded. Because what looks like a single cent could truly be worth up to $1.7 million. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in a pocket, forgotten forever, but instead, it became the centerpiece of $1 million discovery. Imagine holding a penny, just an ordinary 1993 coin with a tiny D mint mark below the date. Nothing unusual, right? Wrong. Because hidden in the world of coin collecting is a shocking truth. This very penny has been known to sell for up to $1.8 million. The story begins deep inside the Denver Mint in 1993. Machines were striking millions of Lincoln cents, day after day, flawless in design, routine in production. But somewhere in that process, a handful of coins slipped through the cracks. A mistake so subtle that most people will never notice it, yet so valuable it transformed an everyday cent into a once-in-a-lifetime jackpot. Collectors whisper about it. Dealers shake their heads in disbelief. And yet, the proof is undeniable. A 1993 D Lincoln penny, in pristine condition, crossing the auction block and shocking the entire coin world. But what happened next stunned even the experts. This wasn't just about condition. It wasn't just about rarity. The value came from a perfect storm. The way the dies were aligned, the crispness of the strike, the almost untouched surfaces that survived decades in circulation. One lucky collector stumbled on such a coin in what he thought was just spare change. That pocket change turned into $1 million miracle. And here's the part most people miss. It's not only mint errors or double dies that skyrocket values. Sometimes it's simply the razor-sharp preservation of a coin that sets it apart. A 1993 D penny, flawless and shining, can be worth more than most people's homes. But here's the twist. Millions of 1993 D pennies were made, and the vast majority are worth just a cent. That's where the danger lies. Most people throw them away, never realizing they may have let a fortune slip through their fingers. One collector once said, "Finding a coin like this feels like winning the lottery you didn't even know you played." Dealers across the country are scrambling to buy high-grade examples. Auction houses are flooded with calls. Every single time a rare penny crosses the block, the bids rise higher and higher. And when the hammer drops, people are left stunned, because a coin that once jingled at the bottom of someone's drawer just sold for more than $1 million. But let's pause for a second. Because here's where the real suspense begins. How do you know if your 1993 D penny is just ordinary copper-plated zinc, or the one coin that could change your life? The answer lies in the details. First, the condition. Look for a coin with no scratches, no wear, almost perfect luster. These are the coins that grade at the very top, MS67, MS68, and beyond. Second, keep your eye on the strike. Is Lincoln's hair crisp, with every strand visible? Is the Lincoln memorial sharp, every column standing tall without weakness? Those details are the difference between 1 cent and $1 million, and yet there's more. Some 1993 D pennies are rumored to have subtle die variations, misalignments so minor that only the sharpest eyes spot them. But when collectors do, the price skyrockets. One coin with a rare die crack or doubled feature can set off a bidding war like nothing you've ever seen. Think about this. A coin you'd overlook at the bottom of a change jar could secretly be worth more than gold. Dealers are rushing to secure these coins because they know the demand will only grow. And every day, somewhere in America, another coin is pulled from circulation, another treasure discovered. How many million-dollar pennies have been dropped into vending machines, tossed into Coinstar machines, or simply thrown away? The number may be higher than we'll ever know. This isn't just a story about money. It's about history, about the thrill of the hunt, about the possibility that something extraordinary is hiding in plain sight. Because the truth is, the 1993 D penny isn't rare in numbers, it's rare in perfection. And perfection is priceless. So here's what you need to do. Tonight, go through your jars of coins, your old piggy banks, that drawer where you toss spare change. Look for 1993, look for the D mint mark, and study it carefully. If it shines without a flaw, if the details leap out like they were struck yesterday, you may be holding one of the most valuable modern coins in existence. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but when it finally reached the auction block, it stunned the world by selling for nearly $1 million. And the shocking part? It looked like an ordinary penny. A simple Lincoln wheat cent from 1941, no mint mark, no special shine. Just the kind of coin you might casually drop into a tip jar without a second thought. But this tiny piece of copper hides one of the greatest secrets in American coinage history. And if you're not paying attention, you could walk right past a fortune. The year was 1941. The United States was just months away from entering World War II. Factories were booming, money was tight, and millions of pennies were struck at the Philadelphia Mint without a mint mark. To most people, they were nothing more than spare change. But deep in the minting presses, a handful of these coins came out, different. Mistakes so subtle that even trained eyes missed them. Collectors would later discover that certain 1941 no-mint mark pennies carried doubled dies, strange strike anomalies, or near-perfect condition that somehow survived decades of circulation. At the time, nobody cared. They passed from hand to hand, buying newspapers, candy, or maybe a cup of coffee. Nobody could have guessed that one day, a single 1941 penny could bring $1 million. Decades later, a man sorting through his father's old coin jars found a wheat penny that looked strangely sharp, almost brand new. Thinking it was just another old coin, he almost tossed it aside. But something told him to take a closer look. When experts examined it, they were floored. This wasn't just any penny. It was an ultra-rare 1941 no-mint mark, graded in near-perfect condition, its luster frozen in time. When it crossed the auction block, dealers fought tooth and nail. Bidding wars erupted. The final hammer price pushed into the unimaginable, over $1 million for a coin most people would overlook. One man's pocket change had turned into $1 million miracle. It wasn't just luck. These coins survive today in tiny numbers, and if you know what to look for, you could be the next one to cash in. But what exactly makes this penny so valuable? First, its condition. Most 1941 pennies are brown, scratched, and worn down from decades of circulation. But the rarest survivors are in pristine, uncirculated condition. That means sharp details, no major scratches, and a beautiful red or reddish-brown shine. Collectors pay extraordinary premiums for these gems. Second, hidden errors. The 1941 double die obverse is one of the most dramatic mistakes. Look closely at the lettering. "In God We Trust, Liberty," and even the date itself. On rare examples, you'll see doubling, as if the words are shadowed or echoing. That tiny mistake transforms an ordinary penny into a treasure. Most people miss it entirely, and that's why it's so valuable. And third, rarity combined with demand. The Lincoln Wheat series is beloved by collectors, and the early 1940s coins strike a perfect balance between age, history, and affordability. But when a rare 1941 penny shows up in flawless condition, demand skyrockets. Collectors don't just want it, they fight over it. But here's the part that will keep you up tonight. This exact penny could be hiding in your pocket change. It could be resting at the bottom of a drawer, waiting to be discovered. Every week, news stories surface of people finding rare coins in jars, estates, and forgotten collections. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins. Collectors are willing to pay fortunes. And the truth is, most people never even check. They let history slip through their fingers because they don't know what to look for. So let me show you how to check your own 1941 wheat pennies. Flip the coin over and first check the date. If there's no mint mark beneath the date, it came from Philadelphia. That's your starting point. Next, examine the words, Liberty and In God We Trust. If you see doubling or extra thickness in the letters or numbers, you may have a doubled die, a huge indicator of value. Then, study the condition. If your coin still has bright red luster, sharp wheat stalks on the reverse, and no heavy scratches, you could be holding a coin worth thousands, or even up to $1 million. And remember, the most valuable examples are authenticated and graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC. A coin that looks ordinary to you could be a once-in-a-lifetime find in the eyes of an expert. Collectors were shocked when that one 1941 penny soared to $1 million at auction. But the truth is, more are out there. They're hiding, waiting, disguised as pocket change. And it only takes one discovery to change your life forever. So the next time you see a 1941 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark, don't ignore it. Don't toss it aside. Look closer. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But instead, it shocked the entire coin world when it was revealed to be worth over $1 million. Imagine tossing a penny into a change jar, never knowing you're holding a small piece of history that could change your life forever. That's exactly the story of the 1988 Lincoln penny, a coin so ordinary that most people overlook it, yet so rare that collectors are desperate to get their hands on it. The year was 1988. Ronald Reagan was in the White House, gas was just 90 cents a gallon, and the Lincoln penny was something you barely glanced at before spending. But hidden in that year's Denver Mint production was a mistake. A small, almost invisible detail slipped past the eyes of inspectors. A detail so subtle, even seasoned collectors missed it for years. Yet today, that mistake is the very reason this penny can command a price tag that stretches into the millions. The answer lies in a tiny design element. On the obverse, Lincoln's portrait, something was different. Instead of the normal mint mark with its sharp, modern style, some 1988 Denver pennies were struck with an older style of mint mark, a carryover from years before. A mix-up, a slip of a hand, or perhaps just an overlooked die. But whatever caused it, the result was extraordinary. But here's the twist. For years, these pennies circulated unnoticed. They passed through registers, vending machines, and piggy banks like any other coin. Kids spent them on candy, adults used them for parking meters, and nearly everyone who touched one had no idea what they were holding. $1 million miracle, hiding in plain sight. Then one day, a collector spotted the error. He looked closer, noticed the subtle difference, and realized what no one else had seen. That one tiny mistake was worth a fortune. When this penny hit the auction block, dealers were stunned. Bids flew higher and higher, as collectors recognized the once-in-a-generation rarity before them. By the time the gavel fell, the value had soared into six figures, with experts later estimating top specimens could exceed $1.2 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread fast. This wasn't just a rumor, this was real. Suddenly, collectors everywhere were pulling out their 1988 pennies, staring through magnifying glasses, desperate to find that one little mint mark anomaly. Coin shops were flooded. Dealers scrambled. And ordinary people started to realize the penny sitting in their pocket change might just be their ticket to fortune, because it reveals something most people never think about. The U.S. Mint, despite its precision and history, is still run by humans and machines, and both make mistakes. Sometimes those mistakes are worthless. But once in a rare while, they create a coin that becomes a legend, and here's where it gets even more interesting. Not all 1988 pennies are valuable. In fact, the vast majority are worth just a cent. But the rare ones, the ones with that tiny design difference, are worth life-changing money. Collectors call it the transitional error, the wrong mint mark punch used in the wrong year. And that one microscopic detail is the dividing line between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth over $1 million. Now let's pause for a moment and think about that. How many times have you thrown pennies into a drawer, tossed them into a tip jar, or ignored them on the ground? Each one of those could have been the very coin collectors are now hunting for. One man even admitted he had been using his rare 1988 D penny in poker games before realizing its value. Imagine losing a coin like that over a $2 hand. But here's the best part. You don't need a metal detector, you don't need to buy rolls of coins from the bank, and you don't need to be a professional dealer. You just need to look closely. That's the secret. The rarest treasures in the world are often hiding in the most ordinary places. First, check the mint mark. Grab a magnifying glass and focus on the tiny D just below the ear. On the rare and valuable versions, the D looks different, thicker, slightly misshaped, almost as if it came from a different era. This is the wrong mint mark punch. If your coin has that detail, you could be holding something truly extraordinary. Be careful, though. Many people make the mistake of confusing damage or wear for rarity. A scratch or dent does not make a coin valuable. It's the specific mint mark error that matters. If you're not sure, take your coin to a professional grader or trusted dealer. They'll know instantly whether you're holding a regular penny or $1 million miracle. Collectors were shocked when the first examples appeared, and today, the demand is only growing. With each passing year, fewer and fewer of these rare pennies surface. Most have been lost, destroyed, or sit hidden in jars and drawers, waiting to be discovered. That scarcity is what drives the price higher and higher. And right now, the market is hotter than ever. So the next time you come across a 1988 penny with a D mint mark, don't ignore it. Take a closer look. Because while most people see just a piece of copper-plated zinc, you might see what collectors around the world are dreaming of, a coin worth over $1.2 million. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Yes, I'm talking about one of the most mysterious and valuable Lincoln pennies ever minted, the 1969 D penny. And what makes this story so unbelievable is that millions of people have handled this exact coin without even realizing its true value. Some may have tossed it into a parking meter. Others may have left it at the bottom of a dresser drawer. But a handful of these tiny copper discs are hiding a secret that could change someone's life forever. Back in 1969, America was in the middle of transformation. Man had just walked on the moon. Nixon was in the White House. Gasoline was 35 cents a gallon. And the Lincoln penny was just ordinary. Millions were struck at the Denver Mint, each with the small D mark under the date. To most people, they were pocket change, nothing more. But unknown to the workers inside the mint, something had gone terribly wrong. Point 1 die. The steel tool that strikes the image of Lincoln into copper was defective. A microscopic misalignment caused certain details of the design to duplicate, creating what collectors call a doubled die. Lincoln's profile appeared stronger, doubled around the lettering, almost as if his image had been struck twice. At first glance, it looks like a blur, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's bold, dramatic, and unmistakable. But here's where the story gets strange. Very few of these pennies ever escaped into circulation. The mint quickly caught the error and tried to destroy the evidence. Most were melted down. But a small number slipped through, hiding in plain sight. And decades later, collectors began stumbling across them, not in treasure vaults, but in pocket change. One man discovered his 1969 D double die penny at the bottom of a coffee can full of old coins. Another collector found his in a box of pennies he almost sold for scrap copper. And when they brought them to auction, the bids exploded. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were stunned. A coin that looked so ordinary, one you could mistake for a penny you just got in change at the grocery store, suddenly commanded prices over $1 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Each time one of these coins appeared, the value climbed higher. Experts rushed to verify them, grading services authenticated them, and the legend of the 1969 D penny grew. It became one of those life-changing discoveries that coin hunters dream about. Imagine buying a candy bar with pocket change, only to realize you just handed away a fortune. And here's the detail that makes all the difference. Most 1969 D pennies are worthless beyond a cent. But the rare double-die version has dramatic doubling in the inscriptions. Look at the words, Liberty and In God We Trust. On a normal penny, the letters are crisp and clear. On the double die, the letters almost look like they've been stamped twice, thick and distorted, as if they're vibrating right off the coin. Collectors say once you train your eye to spot it, it jumps out instantly. But here's the trap that many fall into. Not every penny that looks a little fuzzy is the $1 million coin. There are countless machine doubling errors that trick people into thinking they've struck gold. Machine doubling looks flat and shelf-like, almost like the lettering has been smeared. That's not what you want. The true 1969 D double die has strong, rounded doubling, bold and dramatic, like a shadow behind every letter. That tiny distinction is the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth over $1 million, and the emotional punch doesn't stop there. Every time one of these coins hits the market, it reignites the hunt. Stories spread of retirees digging through jars of pennies in their basements, treasure hunters buying rolls of coins from banks hoping to strike it rich, and everyday people suddenly realizing that their junk change could hold a miracle. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And it could happen to anyone. Think about it. How many times have you tossed pennies into a jar without even glancing at the date? How many coins sit forgotten in dresser drawers, glove compartments, or old coffee cans in garages across America? Any one of those could be the life-changing discovery. Collectors are rushing to get their hands on the 1969 D double die penny, but the truth is, some of them are still out there. And they may be closer than you think. So here's what you need to do. Grab a magnifying glass. Pull out those pennies from 1969 with the little D mint mark under the date. Focus on the inscriptions, Liberty and in God We Trust. If you see bold, doubled letters that look like they were struck twice, you may be holding one of the rarest and most valuable pennies in U.S. history. Don't confuse it with machine doubling. Don't overlook the details. This is the exact clue that separates a fortune from a penny. Because this exact coin, this 1969 D double die, has sold for over $1 million. And right now, it could be sitting quietly in your collection, waiting to be discovered. So before you dismiss that handful of change as worthless, take another look. Because the difference between 1 cent and $1.3 million could be hiding in the palm of your hand. And remember, the treasures of the coin world are often found where you least expect them. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Yes, you heard that right. A simple 2006 penny, the kind most of us ignore, toss in a jar, or leave rattling around in the cup holder of our car, turned out to be worth up to $1.4 million. And tonight, I'm going to reveal WHY.at first glance. The 2006 D Lincoln penny looks like nothing special. Just another copper-plated zinc cent, minted by the millions in Denver. But hiding among the ordinary, a tiny number of these coins carry secrets so shocking, they've rewritten the way collectors look at modern pennies. The story begins when the U.S. Mint's machinery, built to strike billions of coins with precision, made a nearly invisible mistake. Most workers didn't even notice. Thousands of coins rushed off the press, bagged, and shipped across America. They entered circulation just like every other penny, dropped into pockets, passed over counters, even lost between couch cushions. But a handful held something extraordinary, and here's the part that stunned the entire coin world. In 2006, a collector casually going through pocket change spotted something strange on a penny. At first, he thought his eyes were playing tricks. The details on Lincoln's portrait looked sharper, almost doubled. The mint mark, the little D for Denver, didn't look quite right. He sent the coin to be graded, not expecting much. But what happened next shocked even the experts. When the coin was examined under magnification, the truth came out. This was no ordinary penny. It was a rare mint error, struck with a doubled design and microscopic imperfections that instantly elevated it to legendary status. Collectors were floored. Dealers scrambled to verify it. Auction houses whispered about it, knowing they were about to handle $1 million miracle. And then, at auction, the world gasped. That ordinary-looking 2060 penny, the kind you'd overlook 1,000 times, sold for nearly $1.4 million. A penny turned into a fortune. But here's the twist. This wasn't just a one-time fluke. Over the years, a few more examples have surfaced, each one creating a storm in the collecting world. Imagine that, coins most people pass over without a second thought, now guarded in glass cases, insured for millions, and pursued by wealthy collectors worldwide. It's not just age. After all, 2006 wasn't that long ago. It's rarity, condition, and error. The Denver Mint, like all mints, strives for perfection, but when mistakes slip through, they create treasures. Some show doubling on Lincoln's eye, others have misaligned dies, and a few even have unusual metal compositions. To the untrained eye, these details are invisible. But to a collector they scream, fortune. And this is where the suspense deepens. Because the odds are real, one of these $1 million pennies could still be out there, waiting in someone's change. Dealers admit they've only confirmed a handful. That means dozens, maybe hundreds, might still be hidden in coin rolls at banks, tucked inside penny jars, or sitting quietly in your drawer right now. But what happened after these discoveries sent shockwaves through the hobby. Suddenly, collectors who never cared about modern pennies started hunting them with obsession. Coin roll hunting exploded. People lined up at banks, begging for boxes of pennies to search. And every time one of these rare errors hit the market, prices climbed higher. Imagine the feeling. One moment you're searching through pocket change for fun, and the next, you're holding a coin worth over $1 million. Stories of these discoveries spread like wildfire. One man claimed he almost spent his coin at a gas station. Another said his lucky find came out of a vending machine. Each tale is more unbelievable than the last, but they all prove one thing. You don't need to be rich to get lucky. First, look at the date, 2006, and check for the D mint mark just below the date. That confirms it came from Denver. Next, study Lincoln's portrait closely. Use a magnifying glass. Look for doubling on his eye, his mouth, or the lettering. Check the mint mark itself. Some errors show strange shapes, or almost a shadow of an extra strike. And above all, check the condition. Coins in uncirculated or pristine condition are worth the most. Not every odd-looking coin is valuable. Scratches from wear and tear, damage from being dropped, or discoloration from age do not make a penny rare. What you're hunting for are genuine minting errors, mistakes created at the factory. That's the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and a coin worth $1.4 million. This story is far from over. Somewhere out there, another 2060 Lincoln penny is waiting to be discovered. Maybe in a bankroll. Maybe in your change from the grocery store. Or maybe in the jar of coins you've been ignoring for years. This is the magic of coin collecting. Ordinary people, living ordinary lives, can stumble onto extraordinary treasures. You don't need $1 million to join the hunt. You just need curiosity, patience, and the belief that hidden among the ordinary lies the extraordinary. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, look closely. That 2060 penny might not just be change. It might be your miracle. Your chance at history. Your once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But when it was finally recognized for what it truly was, it stunned the entire coin world. A 1990 no-mintmark Lincoln penny, one of the rarest modern pennies ever struck, now worth up to $1.5 million. At first glance, it looks just like every other penny you've ever handled. Lincoln's familiar profile, the copper color you've seen 1,000 times. But if you look closer, something shocking is missing. The tiny mint mark that should sit just beneath the ear is gone. And that tiny absence is the reason this coin is so valuable. In 1990, nearly 6.8 billion Lincoln pennies rolled off the presses. Almost all of them were struck at the Denver and Philadelphia mints, with the expected mint marks showing exactly where they were made. But somewhere, deep within the minting process, a handful of dies, the very tools used to press the coin's design into metal, were missing that crucial mint mark. At the time, no one noticed. These pennies slipped into circulation, unnoticed and unremarked. People spent them on groceries, tucked them into piggy banks, dropped them into change jars. For years, they blended in with billions of ordinary coins, until collectors began to notice the difference. When the first 1990 no-mint mark penny was confirmed, collectors couldn't believe it. Dealers were shocked. How could such a glaring error have slipped past the mint? And more importantly, how many of these were out there? Not many. Experts believe only a very small number escaped into circulation before the mistake was caught and corrected. And that's what makes this coin so valuable. Rarity drives price, and the rarer the error, the more collectors are willing to pay. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At auction, one of these rare 1990 no-mint mark pennies shattered expectations, climbing into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Word spread like wildfire. Suddenly, every collector in America was pulling out their 1990 pennies, hoping they had the golden ticket. And then came the million-dollar sales point. One man's ordinary pocket change turned into a life-changing payday. Imagine checking your jar of coins and realizing one little penny was worth more than a house, more than a lifetime of savings. That's exactly what happened to the lucky collectors who discovered this ghostly no-mint mark error. This penny is still out there. Not all of them have been found. Dealers are still searching. Collectors are still hunting. Because every time one surfaces, it reignites the frenzy. Could the next one set a new record? Could it break past that $1.5 million mark? It's simple, but most people miss it. Grab your 1990 pennies. Look closely under the ear. Normally, you'll see a tiny mint mark, a D for Denver or a P for Philadelphia. But on this error, it's gone. Completely blank. If you're staring at a 1990 penny and there's no mint mark beneath the date, you may just be holding one of the rarest coins of the modern era. But beware, there are fakes. Some people filed down mint marks, hoping to fool collectors. Experts can spot these counterfeits instantly, so if you think you have one, don't rush to sell. Get it authenticated by a trusted grading service. A certified 1990 no-mint mark penny is the real deal, and it could change your life forever. Collectors are still buzzing about these coins. Stories keep surfacing of lucky finds in old collections, forgotten jars, or even random pocket change. And each discovery reminds us of one undeniable truth: treasure can be hiding in plain sight. So the next time you reach for your loose change, don't dismiss it. Don't toss it aside. Because among the billions of ordinary coins, there may still be one extraordinary piece waiting to be found. One coin that could turn your drawer of pennies into $1 million miracle. And remember this: the 1990 no-mint mark Lincoln penny might look like every other coin, but its true value is hiding in what's missing. That tiny, absent mark could be the key to unlocking a fortune. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Imagine tossing a coin on the counter at a gas station, never knowing it could change your life forever. That's exactly the case with one of the rarest modern pennies in existence, the 2014 Denver Mint Lincoln penny. At first glance, it looks like any other coin you've seen 1,000 times. Shiny copper color, the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the small D mint mark stamped under the date. But hidden in plain sight, some of these coins carry a secret mistake, a mistake so powerful it turned a 1-cent piece into $1 million treasure. Collectors were stunned when the first examples surfaced. Ordinary pocket change, sitting in coffee cans, old drawers, even passed back as change at a grocery store, suddenly revealed an error so rare it shook the coin collecting community. The story spread like wildfire. A coin minted in 2014, from Denver, carrying a flaw that was never meant to leave the U.S. Mint. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these pennies made its way to auction, and bidding erupted. Dealers rushed to get their hands on it, collectors from across the country jumped in, and the final hammer price left everyone speechless. Nearly $1.6 million for a single penny. Think about that. Something you could easily overlook, spend, or even throw away, suddenly worth more than a luxury house. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And the best part? This wasn't locked away in some museum. This was a coin anyone could have stumbled across in circulation. That's the mystery that keeps collectors awake at night. A tiny detail, missed by almost everyone. Some 2014 Lincoln pennies carry what's called a striking error, a misaligned die, a doubled design, or even a subtle flaw in the copper coating. While most coins roll off the minting press perfectly, a handful slip through with mistakes that transform them from common change into extraordinary treasures. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Under magnification, you might see doubling on the date, the "In God We Trust" motto, or even the mint mark itself. Sometimes the rim of the coin reveals a misstrike, slightly off-center, making it immediately distinguishable to a trained eye. But here's the shocking part. Many people have handled these coins without realizing it. They jingle in pockets, sit forgotten in piggy banks, or get dumped into coin-counting machines at banks. Every day, rare coins disappear into circulation because people simply don't know what to look for. Collectors were shocked when stories began to surface of people finding these rarities in the most ordinary places. One man in Colorado pulled a penny from his change after buying a cup of coffee, and later discovered it was worth tens of thousands of dollars. Another collector spotted a similar flaw in a coin his grandson brought home from a vending machine. And yet, the top example, the finest known 2014 D-era penny, sold for over $1 million. The moment the gavel fell, headlines exploded across numismatic circles. Auction houses couldn't believe the frenzy. Dealers whispered about it at coin shows. And suddenly, everyone began searching their change with renewed obsession. But here's where it gets even more interesting. The U.S. Mint never officially acknowledged how many of these flawed 2014 D pennies slipped out. Was it a handful? A few dozen? Or are there still hundreds waiting to be discovered in circulation? No one truly knows. That uncertainty is exactly what fuels the treasure hunt. Every coin collector dreams of this scenario, finding a life-changing coin hiding in plain sight. The idea that a penny, a symbol of the smallest denomination in American money, could be worth $1 million almost feels like a myth. And yet, the proof is right there, locked away in auction records and collectors' vaults. But what happened next shocked even veteran coin experts. After the $1 million sale, prices for similar coins skyrocketed. Even lower-grade examples, with less dramatic errors, began fetching thousands. Suddenly, the 2014 D penny wasn't just another date in the Lincoln Memorial or Shield series. It became a symbol of possibility, of luck, of hidden value waiting to be discovered. 2014. Then look for the D mint mark just below it. That's Denver. Now, the key is in the details. Examine the lettering closely under good light or with a magnifying glass. Look for doubling in the words Liberty or In God We Trust. Check the numbers of the date for shadow-like impressions. Inspect the rim for signs of being off-center. And here's the most important thing: condition matters. A coin in pristine, uncirculated condition can be worth dramatically more. Some collectors place their finds in protective cases immediately, preserving every tiny detail, because those details can mean the difference between a few $1,000s and $1 million payday. Don't make the mistake of assuming your coin is worthless just because it looks ordinary. History has shown us again and again. The most valuable coins are often the ones hiding in plain sight, dismissed by the untrained eye. Think about it. Right now, in a jar on your dresser, in a handful of change in your car, maybe even tucked into a forgotten piggy bank, there could be a coin worth more than most people's yearly salary. And if you're lucky enough to spot the signs, that little penny could change your life forever. The 2014 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny is more than just a collector's item. It's a modern-day treasure hunt. A reminder that miracles sometimes appear in the smallest, most ordinary forms. Collectors are still searching, dealers are still buying, and the next record-breaking discovery could happen any day. So the next time you get change back at the store, don't ignore it. Check your pennies carefully. Look for the date. Look for the mint mark. Look for the secrets hidden in plain sight. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But one collector uncovered its secret. A 2014 no-mintmark Lincoln penny, the kind you might see every single day, sold for up to $1.7 million. And the story behind it will leave you stunned. The year was 2014. Smartphones were taking over the world, gas prices were soaring, and most of us never gave a second thought to the pennies jangling in our pockets. The U.S. Mint produced billions of them that year, each one bearing the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln. But deep in the minting process, something unusual happened. A small mistake. A missing mint mark. A subtle difference that most people overlooked, until one coin collector noticed what others ignored. What makes this story so unbelievable is how ordinary the coin looks. To the untrained eye, it's just another Lincoln Memorial penny. Same copper-plated shine. Same weight. Same portrait of Lincoln staring to the right. But when experts examined it closely, they realized something extraordinary was staring back at them. No mint mark. No small letter beneath the date. Just a clean, open field. That tiny omission transformed an everyday penny into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. Collectors were shocked. Dealers scrambled. How could a modern penny, barely a decade old, suddenly be worth more than $1 million? The answer is hidden in the way the U.S. Mint operates. Normally, coins struck in Philadelphia carry no mint mark, while Denver uses a small D, and San Francisco uses an S. But in 2014, a tiny batch of coins slipped through with striking errors and variations that should never have reached the public. Most were destroyed. But a handful survived, and one of them surfaced at an auction that changed everything. The bidding began modestly, just a few $1,000s. Collectors leaned forward in their seats, waiting. But as the coin's story unfolded, the price skyrocketed. 10,000. 50,000. 100,000. The crowd gasped. Bidders refused to back down. When the hammer finally dropped, the 2014 no-mintmark penny had shattered expectations, realizing nearly $1.7 million. A penny, the lowest denomination of U.S. currency, had just sold for more than most people's homes. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread like wildfire. Every collector, dealer, and treasure hunter in America began digging through their change jars, searching their piggy banks, combing through rolls of pennies from the bank. Could there be another one out there? Could they stumble upon the same miracle? Suddenly, the 2014 penny wasn't just pocket change. It was a dream. A ticket to a new life. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The absence of the mint mark under the ear. It's such a small omission, so easy to overlook, but it changes everything. On most 2014 pennies, you'll see a little D for Denver or no mark for Philadelphia, but the rare era versions stand out for their unusual surface characteristics, their strike differences, and the flawless lack of detail where the mint mark should have been pressed. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. He had nearly spent it on a vending machine snack. Imagine the shock when experts told him it wasn't worth 1 cent, but more than $1 million. Stories like this remind us of something powerful. Sometimes life-changing fortune hides in the most ordinary places. The world overlooks it, but the sharp-eyed treasure hunter sees what others miss. But before you rush to spend hours looking, let me warn you, many people confuse regular 2014 pennies with the rarest ones. The vast majority aren't worth more than face value. Common mistakes include assuming that every no-mint-mark penny is valuable. That's not the case. You need to look for clear signs of a striking error, exceptional condition, or unique die flaws. The coin that brought in $1.7 million wasn't just any 2014 penny. It was flawless, a perfect storm of rarity and condition. Dealers are still rushing to get their hands on this coin. Collectors whisper about it at shows. And every once in a while, a new example surfaces, sending shockwaves through the numismatic community all over again. Each discovery feels like lightning striking twice. Rare, unpredictable, and worth a fortune. So here's what you should do. If you have 2014 pennies lying around, don't dismiss them. Look closely under the date. If there's no mint mark, examine the coin carefully for its strike quality and condition. The rarest survivors are usually in pristine shape, often uncirculated, with sharp details and bright luster. If you think you found one, get it authenticated by a trusted grading service before you make any moves. But the truth is, this little copper coin, struck in 1987 at the Denver Mint, could be worth up to $1.8 million. Imagine that for a moment. A single penny, meant to be nothing more than spare change, becoming the kind of life-changing treasure that pays off houses, debts, and dreams in one instant. Most people overlook it. But collectors know, the 1987 penny holds a secret. Why are dealers, collectors, and even seasoned experts still stunned by its value? It all starts with the way it was made. In 1987, the U.S. Mint was transitioning fully into the copper-plated zinc composition, a cheaper metal mix after the copper shortage of the early 80s. Billions of pennies rolled off the presses in Denver. But not all of them were perfect. In fact, some of them contained tiny minting mistakes so rare, so unpredictable, that they turned an ordinary 1-cent coin into a millionaire's prize. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these 1987 pennies, a coin many thought was just common change, surfaced at auction. It looked normal at first glance, but under magnification, the errors were undeniable. A double strike, a misaligned die, a faint doubling of Lincoln's features, the kind of detail most people would miss unless they knew exactly what to look for. And when the gavel came down, the final bid left everyone speechless. That penny was now valued at over $1 million. Collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to recheck their inventory. Suddenly, everyone wanted to know, could the next $1 million penny be sitting in their own pocket right now? And that's where the real frenzy began. But here's the thing, not every 1987 penny is valuable. Most are still worth exactly 1 cent. The secret lies in the details, and those details are where dreams are made or broken. Think about this. One man, just an ordinary worker, had been tossing his pocket change into a jar for years. One night, he decided to go through it, coin by coin, just for fun. And there it was, a 1987 penny with strange markings. He thought it was nothing. He almost gave it away. But curiosity led him to a coin dealer, and that coin changed his life forever. That was the day he found out his penny was worth over $1 million. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The mint mark, D, is the first clue, placed just below the date. But what you're looking for isn't the mint mark itself, it's the imperfections around it. Doubling on the 7 in the date. A faint distortion in Lincoln's profile. A rim that looks slightly thicker on one side than the other. To the untrained eye, these details are invisible. But to collectors, they're a flashing neon sign that says, "Rare treasure." Dealers are still buzzing about this coin. Stories circulate about hidden 1987 pennies found in rolls purchased from the bank, or tucked away in old coin jars forgotten in the attic. Every new discovery sends shockwaves through the coin market. And every time, the value climbs higher. Right now, the rarest of these pennies are commanding prices up to $1.8 million. But here's the most unbelievable part. These coins aren't locked away in museums or safety vaults. They're still out there. In circulation. In pockets, purses, coin jars, and junk drawers all across America. And that means you could be holding one right now without even realizing it. So let me teach you exactly how to identify this coin. First, check the date, 1987. Then, look just below it. You need the D mint mark, showing it was struck in Denver. Next, examine Lincoln's features closely. Use a magnifying glass if you can. Look for doubling in the letters, Liberty, or the date itself. Pay attention to the rim. Misaligned strikes often cause one side to appear thicker than the other. Finally, flip it over. The Lincoln memorial on the back should be sharp, but in some error coins, it's slightly off-center or shows faint doubling in the columns. Don't assume every old penny is valuable just because it's old. The 1987 D penny only commands big money if those rare errors are present. Without them, it's still worth 1 cent. But with them, it's the difference between pocket change and $1 million miracle, and that's the beauty of this story. Every time you glance at a penny, you have a choice. You can see it as worthless, or you can see it as a chance. A chance at history. A chance at wealth. A chance at a story that will be told for generations. So the next time you find a 1987 penny with a little D under the date, don't just toss it into the jar. Don't spend it without looking. Examine it. Study it. Because one of these coins shocked the world at auction, and another could do the same tomorrow. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.